either need to, to stay in here, you need to go do this other NEC, and you're not doing that. You're going to EOD. So cool, we'll let you go. So I literally left once that I got figured that out. I left literally like a month later, and I went to a mobile unit in Virginia, and they prepared me physically and mentally, if you know what I mean. AKA, they beat me.
So you went to an EOD mobile unit in Virginia, and your wife went with you, like on
No,
orders.
she stayed in Oklahoma. Yeah, she
Okay, so
stayed in
she stayed.
Oklahoma. She didn't come down. She didn't join me until I got to EOD school. So I went to Virginia to Mud Pup. That's what we call. So I was TAD, getting mentored. Then I went to dive school, and then after dive school, then she moved down because dive school was only like 2 or 3 months, 3 months, and then EOD school was like a year, right? So that's when she moved down with me.
And are the EOD schools in the same places the dive schools there in Panama City?
Yeah, so dive school is all one, right? So recon goes there, divers like scuba divers, all these different branches, parts of it, right? So we're
Right.
all there in Panama City, and then EOD school is in Eglin, at right around the corner, like an hour away.
Okay. And how cool was that, bro? Was it rare for you to be an E5 coming from the fleet to be going through EOD accession school or EOD school? Was that rare? Was that rare?
Well, so back in the days, you were supposed to be an E5 to even apply for the programs, right? But when I went through, they were actually starting to make it to where they were taking less and less fleet returnees, and they were taking more guys right out of boot camp, right? So when I went through, there was only three or maybe five of us that were fleet returnees in dive school.
Okay.
And then when I got to, like, you don't always start out, you go to dive school, then you go to EOD school. And in EOD school, there was more fleet returnees in there, like in my class that I went through,
Okay.
than new guys, right? But
Okay. Cool. So you are in a whole new community, whole new group of friends, whole new group of people, professionals. Academically, was it a challenge for you, or were your
oh,
academics fine?
oh man, no. Like I told you, I graduated high school 2 years late, right? I told
I
you that
heard
part.
that part. I thought I was
Yeah.
asking.
So because EOD school, like, man, EOD school is like we always say it's equivalent like a 4 year college rolled into one. Like that's legitimately what it's like.
I
And you're
believe it.
literally taking a test every day or every other day almost. You're on the verge of getting kicked out because you have a test all the time. It's either a written test or a practical test where you got to go display things. And first starting off, like dive school, you could take all your materials home with you and study, right?
Right.
But EOD school, it was most of it was classified, so you could not take anything home to study. So you had to you they had like study periods for people, but you
Mm,
had like this much time to learn this much stuff, right?
right.
So it was challenging. I had to learn a different way to learn because the way I was learning, the way I studied wasn't working for me. And so I had to like kind of reinvent the way I learned and studied and everything. And
Okay.
now, like my studying now, it's totally different. Like I could pick up a book in a heartbeat and like nail it because I've figured out how to look for the material that's important out of it now, right?
I get it.
So,
So I tell people when I went to, so I get in high school, dropped out of high school. It's not because I was dumb. I was just not academic yet, right?
yeah,
I was smart. I was intelligent. I just didn't care enough to apply it yet. And then when I got my first part of education, my associate's degree, it proved I could just learn a little bit more. My
yeah,
bachelor's degree, I actually had to show I could be an academic, right? But then the master's degree had to show that I was educated. And, and,
yeah,
and I say that because an educated person knows how to incorporate new material at a relatively quick pace, identify what matters, incorporate that into what they need it to be, and then deliver it back to whoever they
yeah,
need to deliver it to in the way that works for them. In my mind, that's an educated human being. And it doesn't require you to have a certain college degree, right?
yeah,
But for some, like for me, I recognize that through my different progressions in education. You just said, "Hey, I got all this degree packed into 1 year." You had all that experience
yeah,
from graduating high school up until that point, going through the different schools you went to, and on the job training and exposure to different mentors and all these other maturity opportunities along the way. I'm sure that it all came together at
yeah,
EOD school, and now you were here. You were just beginning to really become an academic who's educated, because I'm sure that's only the beginning as you move on throughout your career,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's my dad always makes fun of me because he's like, for someone who hated school, you sure did pick a profession that you have to study all the time. Because once you go through and you make it through EOD school is EOD school. It's the core, it's the basics. And then once you get out of EOD, like I was always studying. I was always there's a lot of stuff that's unclassified once you get into the realm, and
right.
I went in to work all the time to study. I would be sitting at home watching some football games with a manual in my hands, always like you are always studying, because like the cost of not knowing is so high, right? Because me not knowing something equals someone dying, like me dying, or worse, someone else dying,
All right,
right?
Danny. So just give me a reference point now. You joined the Navy in 1995. What year are you going into EOD school?
Oh, two.
So after 9/11.
Yep. So I was already going to EOD school before 9/11. I was already working out before 9/11 happened. And then 9/11 happened, and then I went through. And that's one of the biggest things too, is going through EOD school, you knew if you made it, you were going to war. Right?
Well, and
Like that's it.
and I wanted to kind of reinforce on that point. The instructors were making sure you understood that you
Yes.
were going to war, right?
Yes.
And I remember before 9/11, and nothing against the generations before us, right? Because they had their fight and they did what they were going to do, right? It wasn't their fault.